this is the latest news. I only just saw it, and thanks to John Delaros from his channel, he mentioned it. And so I'm going to bring this up and let's talk about this because I thought it was quite interesting. Because this is something like creator right is something I'm very, what shall I say? Well, I'm pro, right? Like it's good to, if you create something, you're owed the dues, right? And it's important that you recognize that's your thing. So let's have a look at this. Of course, a couple of years ago, they settled the Simon and Schuster family, Siegel and Schuster family settled this Superman thing, and I'm a huge Superman fan, right? I got the coat there and all that, and and also one of the latest ones I bought was this recently from Superman. I keep saying Spider-Man. Oh, it's because of this. All right, and they got their rights back for the family and stuff because. The interesting thing is when they realized a few years ago that the family under the rights of and I had this mentioned, right? So that someone I think EVS was talking about this, and he was saying like how a couple of years ago when they realized that the Spider-Man rights were coming up because it's like something about 28 plus 28 years in the US with the copyright laws in 1960s thing, is that that with that, what happens is that after so many years, 56 years, the family gets the rights back. And so Marvel's all was worried, and they started pushing Miles Morales as Spider-Man, right? Because we got to make him the center of our version of this character, right? And so because of that, they were pushing them so hard. So all the movies were coming out and, toys and everything were getting pushed out, because they were worried that they would lose Spider-Man, their top cash cow, right? Because that's who runs and owns, that provides all the income that allows Marvel to do all the silly things they do with all the other characters. Not to mention they've been trying to do the same silliness and ruin, Peter Parker. In comics and everything else as well, because they were worried that they would lose the character, right, the copyright to him. So what let's go over this, right? So there's several. I went over, I did a Google search. There's several people reporting on this because it's big news, right? This is Marvel, like I said, Spider-Man, but not only that, Doctor Strange. So this is Hollywood Reporter reporting Marvel settles fight over Spider-Man Doctor Strange rights. The state of Steve Ditko, who co-created, they say here's the thing. All Stan Lee did historically, right, that is known, right, supposedly, is that he just called him Spider-Man, this character. It's Spider-Man. He named it. That's all. However, Steve Ditko is supposed to have drawn everything, right? All the incarnations, how it came about and all that, designs of the character and stuff. And, that's something that I actually had to deal with, talked over with one of my friends. Like we had a character that I worked on, was the first one that we worked on together, between myself and my friend, right? And I said to him, look, man, how much of the rights you want for this character, right? Because, I created and so on and designed a mask and all this stuff, and it's costume and all this. But I mean, you did decide to look at the character and all that. And he said, no, you came up with it, you so on and so on. And said, okay, cool. That's great. But, that doesn't mean we're part of ways or anything. It just means that's settled, right? And I think this is something, men or women, whatever you're creating, where your artist is, that you really talk things out. And I think it's got to be, you got to deal with these things one to one, all right? And then if you can't, then you go, well, how do we settle it, right? And I think you just got to, I think a lot of times, you watch these guys here, especially companies, they get all legal and all this. So this is how much time we spent on this. It's like, yeah, but you couldn't have spent any of that time unless I created it, right? Unless I came up with it. And I'm talking as a creator, right? And the creator, Steve goes, well, there wouldn't be no Spider-Man without me. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Get it here. So, yeah. So instead of Steve Ditko, who created the character, has reached a deal with the company and ended the last of 5 battles over copyright terminations. This came out yesterday. And I think you could say day before in the US. I don't know. But 8th, right? 8th December. So yesterday for us. It looks like Marvel won't be bringing the battle over the rights to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange into the new year. Attorneys for the company and the state of Steve Ditko on a Wednesday notified the court that they've reached an amicable settlement and expect a stipulation of dismissal with prejudice to be filed in the following weeks. So the lawyers got together and said, all right, this is what we're looking at. Yeah, this is what we want and this is what they want. What shall we do? And well, going to court could be costly because here's the thing. Jury of their peers. See, people are very, corporations might think people like corporations, right? When you watch all these silly, I'm Marvel, I'm DC, the everyday folk doesn't do that. The everyday folk just goes, I like that, I'm going to buy that. If I don't like that, I'm going to buy that. They're not super fans. The normies are not super fans. That's why you see a lot of destruction when it comes to Twitter. People going, oh, this, and then and the companies listen to it. Yet the normies are like, that's not what we're into, So then they lose hundreds and millions, and in the case of one of the companies, billions, right, of dollars because they listen to Twitter, right, or social media or Instagram or whatever. But the normies, this is not our pie, right? This is not our cake. We don't want this sort of stuff. We just want what we want, the product. If it's good, we'll take it. If it's bad, we won't, right? We'll leave it on the shelf. And that's what you're seeing here with these things, right? The normies are saying, it doesn't interest me, so nah, not into buying it. So it goes to like from about $50 to a fifth the price at $9, right? So, right, so dismissal with prejudice to be style. So expect a stipulation of dismissal with prejudice. I guess in the sense it's like if it falls apart, they'll be back, right, in the courts. So it's up to Marvel to make sure that they follow through on what they have promised the state of Steve Ditko, which is a family, right? This all started back in 2021 when Marvel filed a series of lawsuits in response to copyright and termination notice from Larry Leiber and the states of Gene Colan, Steve Ditko, Don Hick, and Don Rico. A very long list of characters were at issue, including Iron Man, right, our buddy, Mark 1, right, that's how he looked, right, down to Captain America, he was here somewhere, and then you had Black Widow, of course, here we go, Black Widow, right, Hulk and Thor. However, in June, all but one of the matters were settled, which basically means they basically, said, hey, yeah, your family deserves a bit of this because your dad, granddad, whatever, created them, and we're making billions off them, right? Every time it goes out there, we put a product out, it sells hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And comics, T-shirts, bed sheets, school bags, lunch boxes, figures, just to name a few. Stationery, right? Everything you can think of, it's out there of all these characters, right? So The last remaining dispute was with the heirs of Ditko, who co-created Spider-Man. And like I said, the dude drew it. The dude imagined it, came up with the idea and everything, and Stan Lee went and named him Spider-Man. Looks like a spider. Get it? Spider-Man. And Doctor Strange. According to that termination notice, the state wanted to reclaim rights from comics, including Amazing Spider-Man number 15, which is where they appeared. Thank you, EVS. Including Spider-Man's 1962 debut, right? Amazing Spider-Man number 15. And Strange Tales, I can't remember what issue that was, including Doctor Strange's first appearance in 1963 and Strange Tales, right? In addition to the art and stories themselves, the termination notices also targeted any character, story element on indicia. What does indicia mean? Right? Let's go have a look at this. Formal, right? Indicia, formal. Distinguishing, right? So formal, distinguishing, features, all, formal, what was that again? Distinguishing marks, featuring the reason. Distinguishing marks reasonably associated with the works, right? So, such as like, did you use him for Miles Morales and called Miles Morales for Spider-Man? That sort of thing. Like, is there like spiders on that? Any other characters maybe? I don't know. I'm not aware, right? So whatever was thing. So Marvel is represented by Dan Petroselli and Molly Lance of O'Melveny. I guess that's a lawyer. Laws. What do they call them? Law branch or whatever. I don't know. And Patrick Ditko was represented by Mark Toberis. Neither party has responded to requests, so there's an NDA, right? Nobody's going to say nothing. We got our cut. That's it. Let's make sure. However, there's stipulations, right? Like I said, and expect a stipulation of dismissal with prejudice to be filed, right? So I guess they'll say in that if they, or if but kind of thing, right? If they decide not to, then off they go. Now, the other report here is also this other one, which actually shows you work, right? Which is kind of better because it shows you some of the art and stuff like that. And this is it here. So this is AIPT. I'm not sure who that is. AIPTcomics.com is reporting this one. So in a bit of good news, it appears Marvel and the Steve Ditko estate have reached an amicable settlement. Same words used, right? Filed multiple blah, blah, blah. Thanks to US copyright law, authors, all their heirs have the ability to gain back copyrights after a certain period of time, right? It doesn't cover works made for hire, which has been, right, here's the go. So this is what the question, the other side of the coin, right? It doesn't cover works made for hire, which has been Marvel's primary argument in these matters, considering how important Ditko was to the creation of so many characters and stories. Hell, he's a Marvel visionary after all, and it's nice to know the matter's settled, right? So you can see, his artwork and stuff, and without that artwork, we would not have, his imagination and stuff, these looks of these characters, and it's just amazing to see his thumbprint all over what we love these days, right? That's come out of Marvel. And of course, like I said yesterday, and I am no longer buying comics, modern comics. Might pick up some, back issues to fill a hole, but that's it. No modern comics for me. Now,